The policy is designed basically the same way, which means the growth of the policy in both of those numbers are going to grow at the same percentage. The only difference is how much money you have growing in one compared to the other.
Welcome to the Growth House podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ray, and I'm here with Mr. Brent Kessler. How are you, Brent?
Hey, Jesse, I'm doing great, man. Happy to be on with you today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor, and I'm really excited to have you come join us for Immersion Season 4. You're coming down here to Scottsdale, Arizona, and from my understanding, you're going to fly down here yourself because you're a pilot. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, I'm going to fly my airplane down there, but I have a pilot that will fly it. But yes, I am a pilot. I just can't fly a plane that I'm coming to Arizona in from Florida. So, yeah, man, looking forward to that. That's the 24th, 25th, and 26th of April. So coming up here in a few weeks. So excited about just getting down there to kind of get, ingrained in what you got going on. So it should be a great time.
Absolutely. No, I'm super excited about it. And I want to give you a quick background on our audience who listens to the podcast. We have a little bit of a mix. So we have the new investors that are looking to just get started, take their first steps into entrepreneurship. But then our main network that you'll see when you come down to Scottsdale is those 7 to 9 figure entrepreneurs and investors. So before we dive into, your strategy and how you become your own bank, I want to give the audience a little bit of a background on you and your story. So before you started Money Multiplier, what did life look like?
Yeah. So anyway, before this, I was actually a chiropractor. I'll just take you back, to those days. I was a chiropractor, and I had 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. I was practicing just in the clinic. I had associate doctors as well. So it had been a bit since I had actually been in the clinic practicing myself because I had a team in there practicing. Anyway, I was at this chiropractic seminar back in 2006, and I was in the audience, and I heard somebody talk about this thing called the infinite banking concept, becoming your own banker. And I thought, man, that sounds really, really good, but it just seems too good to be true, right? I'm sure you've seen things like that where you've heard something and it sounds good, but it just sounds too good to be true. Well, that was me. So I took in all that information, and I had gone home afterwards, went back to my normal chiropractic life, and I did nothing with that information that I heard in 2006. Nothing at all. So then I go back to another conference about 2 years later in early 2008, and about 10 or 12 of my colleagues that were at that previous conference were at this conference. The only difference between them and me is when they heard this information, they acted upon it, right? So at this new conference, so about 10 or 12 of my colleagues were coming up to me. They were going on and on about, hey, Brent, isn't this banking concept the most powerful thing ever to build wealth, to pay off debt, to recapture, to recycle money, right? They were just basically throwing up all over me about this and how well it was working in their life. And I thought to myself, there has to be something to this method, yeah? Because there's no way that 10 or 12 of my colleagues are lying to me. Maybe 1 or 2, but not 10 or 12. So I came home and I told my wife in February of 2008, I said, honey, we have to start implementing this concept in our life. And it was at that time, February of 2008, I was $984,711 in debt, almost $1 million in debt that I owed to other just people, the third-party creditors. And again, I know you're thinking, well, how do you know, Brent, how much debt you were in? Well, that was part of the exercise. I had to know what that number is. Now you're thinking, oh, well, how are you $1 million in debt, right? Like, again, I know it buys a very small house in California or maybe Arizona, but, in Kansas at the time, I was living in Kansas, you can buy a lot of crap with $1 million. So I had my house that I lived in. I had my student loans from chiropractic college. I also had a condo in the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. And if you have a condo on the lake, you have to have a boat and a wave runner, right? I mean, yeah, man, you can't have a condo on the lake without a boat and a wave runner. And as you mentioned, I'm an airplane pilot. So as an airplane pilot, I had to have my own airplane. So I applied this concept in my life, and I was able to pay off that debt in 39 months. 3 years and 3 months. All I did, Jesse, is I added one step in my financial life. In other words, I never had to change my cash flow. I didn't have to work any harder, take any additional risk, lose control of my money. I just added one simple financial step in my life. So then to fast forward a little bit more, I became really passionate about this in March of 2012. So for a little over 13 years now, I've been teaching this concept to others around the country. I've been teaching at live events, Zoom meetings, virtual meetings, go-to meetings. So I've been teaching this concept now for about 13 years, and now I have over 17,000, probably over 18,000 clients now in every state of the country, and most of it is all word of mouth and referral, just because because we've taken this thing and we've really just thrown it out there to where people can just learn. All of our content we give away for free. Everything we do, we give our content away for free. And if a person likes this concept and maybe they want to implement it in their own life, hopefully they'll do it with us here at the Money Multiplier. If they don't, that's fine too, as long as they have the information and at least can have the knowledge. So if they want to apply it in their financial life, they can do so. So yeah, man, that's what it's all about, is just giving. Help enough other people get what they want, and you will get what you want. So the late Zig Ziglar said that, and I think about that quote almost every day of my life. So the last thing I'll say on that is, again, the concept that I teach, I didn't create it. I didn't invent it. So there's a guy that wrote this book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Now, the guy that wrote it, R. Nelson Nash. Nelson Nash was my mentor. He passed away about 6 years ago in March of 2019 at age 87 years old. This man and this book changed my financial life. I highly recommend that all of your listeners go out, find this book, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. Add that book to your wealth building library, because it completely changed my financial life for the better. One more book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. I wrote this book with a guy named Chris Naugle. If you don't know who Chris Naugle is, go find Chris Naugle, chrisnaugle.com. Chris is very active in the real estate world. He's had a couple shows on TV, on real estate TV, one on House Hunters, another one on HGTV called Risky Builders. But Chris and I wrote this book, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery, about 5 years ago. Now that book, it's not necessary to go buy. Just send me an email, Brent at the Money Multiplier. I will email you the ebook, or you can go on our website, themoneymultiplier.com, and you can find the book on there to download.
That's amazing. Okay, I know people are like thinking, okay, what's the simplest way we can talk about and have you break down this method and this concept of infinite banking and becoming your own bank?
Yeah, I'll give you the high 30,000 foot view, but if you go to my website, themoneymultiplier.com, I have a complete 90 plus minute presentation on the website. So like when you go there, just click on Watch Brent Now, and that's my full presentation with the downloadable attachments and all the examples that go along with it. So after you watch that, you'll really understand, or at least have a great idea of how this concept works. But just to give you the high level view, so this concept is a tool to build, keep, and create wealth. In other words, to recycle and recapture all of your money that has been leaving your family and going out to others. So let me give you an example. All right. So when we go buy something, Jesse, and I'm going to use an example of a car, and I go into this in great detail on my presentation in the car example of that 90-minute presentation. But look, the way that we buy a car is just either one of three ways. We either pay cash for the car, we bank finance the car, or we lease the car, right? So either one of those ways, what we have to do is take our money and we have to give it to the car dealer. So the car dealer gives us the car, he's got the money. Now, normally, that's how we buy a car, right? Is you give him the money, you get the car, transaction is over, everybody goes home happy. But how about if there's a way that you can add one step in your financial life, and not only do you get the car, but you also recycle, recapture, and get all the money back. So you have the car and the money too. Because if you do it the other way, where you're just giving the money for the car, that money, Jesse, is gone forever. It's gone. It's totally left your family. By adding this one simple step, you're now recycling and recapturing that money. Now, before we started this podcast, you and I were talking about a mutual acquaintance that we have. His name is Devin, and Devin lives out in Phoenix, Arizona, and Devin is a big real estate investor. And Devin, he found me just like those 17, 18,000 other clients found me, and now he utilizes this in his real estate world. So now the thing that Devin does is he goes out, he buys all of his properties by using this method and this concept, and when he does it, he's able to use the same money over and over and over again for multiple real estate deals. Okay. So go check out Devin Burr. Just go to Mr_Burr, BRRR. Okay. Mr_Burr on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, all the social media stuff that I don't even know most about. He's got some really good examples on that. Also, Jesse, the concept that I teach is not new. It's not on trial. It's not being tested. It's been around for over 200 years. Like if you go research the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, the Barclays, if you go look and see how Walt Disney started Disneyland, how Ray Kroc was able to fund McDonald's, how Pampered Chef got started before Warren Buffett bought Pampered Chef, this is the concept that the wealthy have been using for well over 200 years. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not starting something new. Even Nelson Nash, who wrote this book, he didn't really create the concept. He just really broke it down into simple steps to show people how to use it. Now, even though this book is over 20 years old, right? It was written in 2000 or 2001. I've really taken this concept and I've dumbed it down, right? So like I've simplified it down into a third grade level of understanding it. In addition, if you've ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki, and right, like Robert Kiyosaki's famous for the book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but he also wrote another book called Second Chance. In that book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote, Second Chance, the concept that I teach is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in the book. Also, Tony Robbins, he wrote a book called Money Master the Game. In chapter 5.4 of that Tony Robbins book, Tony talks about exactly what I teach. Now, it's great that this information is in those books, but the problem is when you go and you read, okay, just the information in those books on this concept, it's complicated and difficult to understand. And most people, when they read through it, they read right through it, don't really get it, and just move on and never come back and research exactly what they're talking about. So that's where I break this concept down and make it simple. Now, let's answer your question, right? What is the concept? Well, again, so the way we're going to use the concept, the product that we're going to use to build, keep, and create wealth. Are you ready for it? It's going to surprise a lot of you when I tell you what it is. The product that we're going to use, the vehicle that we're going to use to build, keep, and create wealth is a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividend. Now, I know what I just said. I said that nasty word, life insurance, and I just lost half of the audience because people are thinking to themselves right now, they're thinking life insurance to build wealth. That's a crazy way to build wealth. Why would I ever want to use life insurance to build wealth? That doesn't make any sense because Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman told me so. Well, no, you don't understand this concept or you don't know this concept if you're not using it in your financial life. Because again, let me be clear. This is not any type of life insurance policy. I know a lot of listeners are thinking they know everything there is to know about life insurance. What could you possibly teach me, Brent, about life insurance that I don't know? There is a lot that you don't know. And just if you're willing and you have an open mind, remember, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. That means you should be listening twice as much as you talk. I'm still trying to learn that trait, but I'm working on it. Almost 58, I'm working on it. But again, the concept is is going to be using a whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. So it is not, Jesse, it is not the type of life insurance policy that you can go buy from your brother-in-law that sells life insurance. We all have a brother-in-law that sells life insurance, right? It is not that type of policy. This is a specifically designed, specially engineered whole life insurance policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Not a stock company. It's in a mutual company. Now, what does mutual mean? It means that there are no stockholders, there are no shareholders. You are the owner of that policy contract. You are number one in line. You outrank everybody else. Now, what's most important about this type of policy is because when you put money into the policy, you immediately, and my definition of immediately is within 30 days, when you put money into the policy, you immediately access the cash value in that policy. And when you access the cash value, Jesse, the thing that you're doing is you're using that money to do anything in life that you would do with money, whether it's pay off debt, pay off expenses, whether it's to send your kids to college, buy a car, buy a house, purchase real estate, invest in real estate, lend in real estate. I do a lot of lending. That's my big thing now. I'm kind of out of all of the long-term rentals and short-term rentals. I still have some. I have Airbnbs, VRBOs, but over the last few years, 4+ years or so, I'm really into lending money on real estate deals where I'm in first position on the collateral. The real estate is the collateral, and I loan money on those real estate deals. I get paid interest every month. But the way that I do that is I run all the money, or as much as I can. I run as much of the money as I can through the policy first, and then I'll make the loan on the real estate deal, or I'll make the purchase on the real estate property, or I'll go buy the car, or I'll buy the vacation, or I'll buy the wedding, whatever it is, college education, right? I'm actually putting the money in the policy first, because then what happens? You're able to make money on your money multiple times because you're recapturing and recycling the money. So like when your listeners, Jesse, go and watch my 90+ minute presentation, I have something in there called the car example, where I show you how you buy a $25,000 car every 5 years and you recycle and recapture and get all the money back. All the numbers are right there. It's exactly laid out for you how, and again, it shows you how not only do you get the car, but you also get the money back as well. So you get the money and the car, and that money, Jesse, stays in your family. See, it's a closed system. There's no money being leaked out to others. As long as you can keep just what you have, wouldn't that be an awesome thing?
For sure. So from my understanding, obviously this is much simpler than it is, but it's your almost savings account that you're able to borrow against, and then you're just paying yourself back instead of paying a bank or another institution back.
That's a great example. As a matter of fact, when I first started this concept, my wife was not really on board. Now she's like, let's do more and more and more, right? But when I first started this, she was like, I don't know about that. Now, the thing you got to know about my wife is she's very analytical, very detailed. She's got a master's degree in nuclear engineering. She helped design the reactor for the U.S. Navy on their submarine. So every I is dotted, every T is crossed, right? Very analytical. So when I first came to her about this, she just wasn't getting it. But the way my wife looked at it in the beginning, she says, well, this is going to force us to save. It's going to force us to really know exactly what we're doing with our money, right? Because I will admit I was a spender back then, and I still like to spend money. Don't get me wrong. I like to spend. But again, I was much more of a spender back then than I am now. And my wife kind of looked at this as, oh, this is really going to force us to save. So a lot of people, when they're new to this, they look at it as like a forced savings. But you're exactly right what you're saying. See, the thing doesn't change. The concept doesn't change. Like the thing I can do is I can take my money and I can go to the car dealer and buy the car, and I can give him the money and get the car, and I get the car, right? He's got the money. I got the car. But what if we just add one additional step that has absolutely no risk whatsoever? No risk. It doesn't have you change your cash flow. It doesn't make you work any harder. And it doesn't have you lose control of your money. We're simply adding one step in our financial life. And when you do that and add that one step, now that is what's causing that money to stay in your family and you're able to recycle and recapture. And that money or that step is, let's just put the money in the policy first. So all I'm doing, instead of me taking the money to the car dealer, I'll take the money, I'll put it in the policy, and then from the policy, I'll take what we call a policy loan, and then I'll use that policy loan money to go buy the car. Now, I took a loan from the policy. Well, if I took a loan from the car dealer, I would have to pay them back with interest. So do you think it's a good idea, Jesse, since I took a loan from the policy, that I pay the policy loan back with it? Yeah, it's a great idea, but most people don't do it. They don't pay themselves back. You see, the thing that's crazy about this is people will go above and beyond to make sure they never miss a car payment or a house payment when they owe the bank. But if you borrow money from yourself, you don't care about paying yourself back. You have to start treating your money the same way you treat a bank's money. Because if you don't do that, Jesse, you're saying your money is not as valuable as the bank's money. And what you're doing by doing that, you're violating a principle called EVA, economic value added. Now, I'll get more into EVA when we go and do our immersion event, but, or again, I've got stuff and you can go look up what EVA is and all that. But yes, you have to treat your money the same way. Now, one thing I got to throw out there, because I mentioned policy loan from the insurance company. Here's the cool thing about this. So the thing I want to do, Jesse, or hopefully the thing everybody wants to do, is we want to pay tax on our money one time only at the lowest rate possible. And we want to get that money into a tax-free, tax growth environment. And we want to get the government out of our hair, do we not? Because if you think about it, the largest eroder of wealth is what? Taxes. Taxes is the largest eroder of wealth. And it's fresh on my mind right now because today's April 2nd when we're recording this, right? And I've paid a boatload of money in taxes already, but I know what's coming in 12 days, 13 days, what I owe. Yeah. Okay. So the thing that we want to do is get that money into a tax-free environment and get the government out of our hair. So anytime I put money into the policy. Now, I get to decide how much money I put in the policy. It's up to you. We never have told a client how much money to put in the policy. You can choose a number that you want. We have people putting in like $80 a month, and I think our largest client puts in like $7.8 million a year. It's like 540,000 times 12, so whatever that number is. Add that up, right? $7.8 million a year. So you get to choose the number of what you want to put in. Just pick a number in between there. You can always put money into your policy annually, twice a year, quarterly, or monthly. You can lower the amount anytime you want. You can always change the mode of how you're putting it in. It's totally up to you and very, very flexible. But Jesse, here's what we do. When we put that money in, that money goes in as after tax dollars, which is a great thing because like I said, we want to pay tax on our money one time only. We want to get it into that tax-free environment where it's growing, and it's in an environment where it's growing tax-free. So guaranteed wealth tax-free. Now, when we take a loan to go out and buy all the things that I just mentioned or investments or whatnot, right? Whenever we take a loan, we don't actually take our money. No. We put our policy up for collateral, Jesse, and we take a loan from the general fund of the insurance company, which is a fantastic thing because guess what that means? That means all the money that you have in the policy is continuing to grow tax-free in that tax-free growth rate environment, uninterrupted compound interest. Go Google the word uninterrupted compound interest and see whose smiley face comes up on probably the first page or two. I don't know where I haven't been there lately, so maybe I've gotten chopped down a little bit. Because Jesse, as you know, my daughter, her name is Hannah. She's 25 years old, teaches this concept around the country as well, and has a podcast called The Money Multiplier Podcast. Actually, you and her should change as guests sometimes on the podcast podcast. She records one episode every week, over 150 episodes out there. So the Money Multiplier podcast, I got to give a shout out there to my daughter, Hannah. Very, very knowledgeable on this. So Hannah is a big lender as well. She lends a lot of money. She actually just ordered the new Bronco. It's about a year old now. So she did it all through her policy. She custom ordered this Bronco. And again, I don't know a lot about Ford Broncos. I do have Ford F-150s, but I don't know a lot about Broncos. But on this Bronco that she found and she custom ordered, I guess they only made 1,937 of them. Why did they make 1937? Because that's the year the Bronco came out, 1937. I never knew that. About a year ago, it's just her and her two cats. So she went over and she bought a high-rise condo on Daytona Beach shores, overlooks the Atlantic Ocean and the intercoastal, and she paid like $950,000 for this condo. And I'm like, Hannah, this is the highest price any condo has ever gone in this complex. And she says, yeah, Dad, but it's the penthouse, and look how awesome it is. It's the best unit anywhere on Daytona Beach shores. And she says, does it really matter? Because I'm going to get all the money back anyway. And I couldn't really argue with that. So here's a piece of advice I would give to any of you that have 20-year-olds or kids that are out there shopping for homes. Don't take them to the penthouse condo first. Start at the lower level and work your way up. Because once you take them to the penthouse, you can never come down to a lower level. It doesn't work.
That's some great advice right there. As we wrap up, I'm curious. On social media, there's all these different strategies and methods, even talking about here's how to lower taxes. You have to buy a G-Wagon so you can write it off, or go live in Puerto Rico. And what people don't realize, like, no, that's not for everybody. You have to have a certain level in your business in order for some of those strategies to make sense. So I'm wondering, for your method and this method that we've been talking about, where should someone be at to then take advantage of this?
Yeah, so let me explain. This doesn't eliminate paying taxes at all, right? It doesn't eliminate paying taxes. Like if you're making money, you're going to have to pay tax on that money that you have. And yes, you should find opportunities in order to lower your tax bracket, whether they're tax deductions or tax credits. All the time talking to my CPAs about different things that I can do and what's good, or, right? So here recently, the conversation has been, well, what about some oil and gas? What about some solar? Things like that, some tax credits and not just tax deductions. So just to be clear, this method doesn't eliminate you paying tax, but what it does do is it allows you to pay tax one time on your money, get the money into a tax-free environment, and all that growth is growing inside of that environment tax-free. So all the growth you're not going to pay tax on, most likely. I hate to say not 100%, but you should not pay tax on that growth, because what you're doing is anytime you're accessing the money, you're not taking it out as a withdrawal. You're taking it out as a policy loan. Big difference. And also remember what the end thing is in a life insurance policy. It is a death benefit. So eventually, when that insured person dies, it's not an if, it's a when. We all have a graduation date. We just don't know when it is, right? Well, when that insured person dies, then that death benefit, which is a combination of all the cash and the death benefit, that will get distributed to your beneficiaries tax-free. And that's going to happen like 99% of the time. There are some chances and some places where it may not go to the beneficiary tax-free, but that gets really complicated and we can have a discussion on that. But most of the time, like for example, all the policies that I own, which I think I have 29 policies, maybe 30 now, 29, 30 policies. I buy at least one policy every year. Now, all of them aren't on my life, right? I have them on my life, my kids, my wife. I also have them on people that aren't even in my life anymore, such as old associate doctors in the chiropractic business. Well, when those death benefits pay out, that's going to go to my estate tax-free, right? Because of the way it's structured. So really, your death benefit should go tax-free. So that's why you'll never pay tax on the growth inside of your policy, because you're taking policy loans, and eventually there will be a death benefit at some time. Now, I kind of forgot your question. I think you said, what about starting? Somebody wanting to start, okay?
Yeah, let me clarify real quick, because I gave an example of some tax strategies, but more so just like where someone financially should be? Is this for a rookie who has a W-2 and making, 50,000, or is this for someone who's looking to invest and makes over 100,000? Like, give me kind of a demographic of the person that would be perfect to start up until when.
Great question. The quick answer, as long as just anytime you breathe, you can fog up a mirror, you can do this, okay? I always say it doesn't matter if you make $10 an hour or $10,000 an hour. Everybody needs to break the bonds of financial slavery they don't even realize they're in and start taking control of their own money and their wealth. Look, the way the policy is designed, all right? So let's take the lowest policy out there that is in our organization, and let's take the person that's doing the most policy out there, okay? The policy is designed basically the same way, which means the growth of the policy in both of those numbers are going to grow at the same percentage. The only difference is how much money you have growing in one compared to the other. So the concept does not change for somebody that has more wealth. And that's been a big misconception about this, is because many people that I have talked to over the years have come to me. I was just out last week and I did an event in Phoenix, Arizona, there at the Doubletree by Hilton in Mesa. It was the Think Realty event. I don't know if you've ever heard of Eddie Wilson, and he has Think Realty. I was just out there actually, my daughter Hannah was speaking. I went out there with her, and people in the audience came up and said, I've heard about this before, but I was always told you had to have X amount of money to start. No, you don't. You start at the number that you want to start with. Now, I will say this is not for the homeless person that's sleeping under the bridge, right? I mean, that's not for them, right? They have other responsibilities and worries. They just got to worry about how to get food, right? But it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, there's high school, college kids that start this concept because they just want to be able to recapture their tuition money or the cost for their books, or maybe they're buying their first car. They want to start something. And like you said earlier, Jesse, it's almost like you think about this as a forced saving. The thing we have to overcome in life, which a lot of people struggle with, is this thing called Parkinson's law, where Parkinson's law, it basically says your expenses will rise to meet your income. If you ever think about that, so think about the last time you ever got a raise. Well, you're like, oh, okay, I got a raise. I got an extra $1 an hour, $2 an hour. But now down the road, you look at it and where's that raise? It's gone. You don't even realize you got the raise. Why? Because your expenses has rose as your income has rose. But a lot of people, their expenses are above and beyond their income, and they just can't whip Parkinson's law. So if you can learn to live off of less than what you make, that's a great thing also. And this concept really helps you do that, and it almost forces you to do it. And it's not hard. It's not painful. It just requires a little bit of discipline. But if you know, Jesse, that is going to totally transform your financial life almost immediately and get better month after month, year after year, I mean, right? So like, why wouldn't you want to keep that money in your family? So there's nothing painful, I would say, about doing this. The most painful thing is the paradigm shift that you have in your head. What's between your ears? Because see, the concept is not what you hear most financial experts talk about. You don't hear CPAs, accountants, financial advisors talking about this. No, what do you hear them talking about? They talk about go get a good job, work for 40 years, go put your money in a 401k, an IRA, a qualified plan, and then the government will take care of you, Social Security, Medicare, and all that. Well, that's man. How is that working for most people? It's not. This is about you taking control of your own financial life. So the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome is what's in between your ears, because this concept is not what your mother teaches you, your grandparents, your friends, your colleagues, and your coworkers. It is an outside of the box concept. As a matter of fact, Jesse, when I first heard about this concept, I was pissed at my family. I was pissed off that they did not share this with me. But guess what? I couldn't be mad at them, because the reason they didn't share it with me is they didn't know themselves. Nobody taught them. So think about the wealthy. Are the wealthy really getting with you and talking to you about how they're building, keeping, and creating wealth in their family? Are they really taking the deep dive into what they're doing? I am an open book. I will tell you everything I've done, good, bad, or ugly. Literally, I'll tell you the crap I've done that I'll never do again. And I'll tell you the stuff that I'm going to double, triple, quadruple down on and keep doing and keep doing and keep doing. And the last thing I'm going to say about this concept is the one thing, Jesse, is when you keep more of what you have, you're able to give so much more. I have given away millions of dollars to charities in the last few years, millions of dollars to charitable organizations, different 501c3 through my private foundation, which is for example, I donated to the Maui fire relief. I donated to the North Carolina hurricane relief. I'm really big into dogs and animals, so I've done a lot with that. The inner city kids in Kansas City, the Fatherhood Foundation, right? My brother was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, so the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. You are able to give so much more. And when you're able to give, it's amazing how the money just flows in. The more you give, the more that seems to flow in. I have heard about that before, but I never really believed it, and it's actually happening. It really is happening, and it just makes you feel, just in order to see the lives that you change of other people, it's insane. It's crazy.
Brent, that's a mic drop. We might have to end it right there, brother, because that's a truly beautiful thing when you're able to make enough that your cup is overflowing and you're able to, bless others as well. And I know from, experience myself, that is probably the most fulfilling part of, life is actually being able to give and have that impact.
And it hasn't always been that way, man. It hasn't always been that way. I thought for years, no, I can't give. I can't give. I need to keep. But when I started giving, I started really giving heavily 5-6 years ago, and more each year. I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this sooner? So now I really talk about that a lot when I'm talking to people. Just start doing that because it just brings good karma into your life, I believe. Maybe that's crazy to some of you, but I've seen a difference.
I love it. Brent, what's the best way people can get a hold of you, reach out to you? You mentioned your website. Probably let's plug that one more time so people can dive in a little bit more.
Yeah, so www.themoneymultiplier.com. So themoneymultiplier.com. And the thing you can do is you can always shoot me an email, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, Brent at themoneymultiplier.com. Also, my daughter, Hannah, Hannah, Hannah at themoneymultiplier.com. Go check out the Money Multiplier podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Check that out. Yeah, so that's the best place to find us. Again, even on our website, we have 70 plus videos. Even if you go Google my name, Brent Kessler with one S, Kesler, go Google my name or YouTube my name. You'll see plan designs, case studies, success stories, testimonials, tons of stuff that are out there. So yeah, and please reach out to me with any question that you have, whether it's a pro question, a negative question. Challenge me. Challenge what I teach. Challenge me. Again, right? Don't be nice to me. If there's something that you're like, man, that just doesn't make sense, I think that guy is lying. Because remember, I thought the guy was lying to me for 2 years. I thought he was lying to me. I said, no way, this is too good to be true, right? Challenge me with whatever you find and let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. You don't have to agree with me, but I will tell you, okay, so just a late mentor of mine, well, he's still alive. His name is Joel Bauer, B-A-U-E-R. And Joel Bauer said that it's not what you say about yourself, but it's about what other people say about you. So people live vicariously through the words and actions of others. So I can tell you all day long about how great I am, but no. Go out and listen to the testimonials and success stories. And hey, and the thing is, Jesse, when you're out there looking, you might even find some haters. As a matter of fact, we have t-shirts that say haters need hugs too. We have t-shirts and hats that says haters need hugs too, because no matter what you do, I could go on stage with a bunch of gold bars and I say, come up and get it, it's all yours. And I would have a hater out there that says, no way, it's got to be a scam. That guy's a liar, right? You're always going to have people out there that are like that. But please go out and do all the research on me in this concept. And even if you don't like us at the Money Multiplier, I'm challenging every one of you guys to go out and listen and learn about this concept and then make a decision if it's something that you can see going on in your financial life. And even if you don't like us, find somebody that will do it. Find somebody that will do this because it is a life-changing financial event. It is a game changer. changer. I have never seen anything, Jesse, that's even close to this in building and keeping wealth. And the key word there is keeping the wealth. Because most people, Jesse, most people do a pretty good job of making money, right? Again, I go out and speak to dentists, orthodontists, chiropractors, physicians, surgeons. So those guys and gals know how to make money, but most of them suck at keeping the money. And that's what we teach you to do.
So true. Brent, it's been a pleasure, man. And I'm excited to have you come out to Scottsdale, Arizona here at the end of the month.
All right, man. Thank you, man, Jesse. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Jesse Ray with the Growth House Podcast. We had amazing guest, Brent Kessler. You're going to want to listen to this whole episode.